Hello, everyone. My name is Danni White, and I'm the Director of Content for Bython Media Inc, which is the publisher of TechFunnel.com. Today, we have joining us Barry Feldman. Barry is a well-known writer and content marketing expert and consultant with over 25 years in the business. He is the founder of Feldman Creative and is passionate about writing and educating clients about online marketing and effective content creation. Along with writing and consulting, he is also a blogger, a published author, a popular speaker, and co-host of the podcast Content Jam. Thank you so much for joining us, Barry. We're glad that you are here today.
Well, thank you for having me, Danni. This is going to be fun.
Awesome. So we're going to dive right into the topic of creating effective collaborative content in the year of 2019. First question, what are some reasons to do collaborative content in the upcoming year?
Collaborative content, fun topic, near and dear to my heart. In the upcoming year, you'll do it, and you'll do it for the rest of your existence as an online publisher and content creator. And to some degree, you might have done it in the past without ever realizing it. The list of reasons to do it, to answer your question, is quite long, I think. Certainly, when you collaborate with content creators other than yourselves, you create new and interesting and hopefully valuable material. Sometimes that's easier to do. We're creating collaborative content, and perhaps I'm the expert and you're not. That's not necessarily true, but it's easy for you to ask the questions, and so we're collaborating in a very popular form called podcasting or video casting. You certainly can bring new perspectives to the party, right? If you're a one-man show, mm-hmm. and everything that you publish only comes from between your ears. That perhaps it lacks perspective, and so bring in other experts, and you get new perspectives and perhaps a greater degree of authority. Mm-hmm. You can collaborate to tap different skill sets. I've done this many times, especially with infographics and ebooks. I'm a writer, as you said when you introduced me. I'm really not a graphic designer, although I have dabbled in the sport. I prefer to hand that off to people that are better than me, especially when it comes to larger, more complex projects like infographic design or ebook design. And so I've collaborated with designers often. Perhaps the thing that comes to mind first for collaborative content, especially in the age of social media with all the wars going on, to garner attention and get backlinks and shares and even just an audience at all, or any type of reach, is that when you collaborate, you expand your audience, right? So a very small example would be this video. I'll share it, and you'll share it, and TechFunnel will, reach out to its tribe, if you will, and share it. And if you do it on a larger scale, maybe you're doing a series of interviews or a roundup post. If your roundup post includes 25 experts, you can probably count on most of them sharing it. So that's a great reason to consider doing collaborative content if you've never done it before. It's become kind of a frequent tactic, I think, of bloggers to, ask the same question of multiple people, create a panel, and expect it to get more publicity as a result. So it's spectacular for social media. I think it's probably not said as much, but it should be said that when you collaborate with content, you make friends, sometimes in high places, so you get to know each other. And so, relationships get built. Sometimes business referrals result. It's fun. You forge new relationships, and sometimes you just learn. I've published 2 books thus far in my career, and both of them were highly collaborative projects. The first one was called SEO Simplified for Short Attention Spans, and I had about a half a book. I had about 50 pages. I was aiming for it to be a short book, as the name suggests, and to make it more than 50 pages, which would be kind of a ridiculously short book. I collaborated with 3 experts, especially. I think you mentioned my podcast, Content Jam, formerly called Content Matters. I hit my friend and collaborator in podcasting up. His name's Andy Crestadina of Orbit Media Studios, to do an interview that was about how to get your blog post on the first page of Google search engine results pages. And so, that was collaborative, that was video, that was audio, that was publishable in text form, and ultimately became part of my book.
Awesome. That's awesome. And indeed, those are 2 of the major reasons why collaborative content is good to do, because you get to meet new people, you get to connect with new people within your network and outside even of your industry. And you also get to learn from other people's perspectives and different views that they might have, even about the same topic matter. So that's definitely interesting. So,
yeah, I was talking to John Jantz once from Duct Tape Marketing about the power of podcasting, and it's like you have a press pass. I suppose you could have a very obscure podcast that people don't want to be on, but generally speaking, I get asked to do interviews such as this reasonably often. Mm-hmm. And generally speaking, I consider it a great opportunity. So it's not very likely that somebody would ask me to be on their podcast or video program, and I would decline. So it is sort of like a press pass. I'm not saying that I'm to the degree that Ellen or Oprah would achieve such a thing, but yeah, people want to be interviewed, and generally want to be a contributor to things you're publishing.
Absolutely. So you've given us a number of reasons as to why we should do collaborative content in the next coming years. And indeed, what you said, we will be doing it for the rest of our lives in the digital publishing. So I guess, what are some reasons that we would not want to do collaborative content?
I don't think that's a long list. I suppose, you and I and a third party that set up this interview had to go back and forth and look at our schedules and make it work for both of us, and then do it. So it's work. It's probably more work than just typing or talking as you might on a podcast that isn't an interview. And so I suppose it slows you down. Sometimes there's red tape. I was reading recently about a massive collaborative. You got me thinking about the topic when you showed me your questions, and so I did a little reading about it. And I was reading about Red Bull and Playboy working together to do some. Red Bull's content is all about extreme sports. So somebody got on a motorcycle and jumped the pool at Playboy Mansion. It wasn't promotional content, but it was brought to you by 2 brands. So I think where those instances come to play, where there's collaborators that are not just, informally related and bloggers and have complete control over the media, there's probably a little bit of red tape. So once in a while you might think, is this going to slow me down to the degree that I got to deal with, lawyers and permissions and stuff. And other than that, I really can't think of reasons to not do it. I suppose there are commitments to fulfill. If you say we're going to collaborate, it's sort of expected that you're going to be ready, put some thought into it, and share it. When it comes time. Again, with the social media wars and attention in the digital world only getting harder and worse. I think there is that, right? You say I'm in, you should probably be in beyond just being available and willing, but also available and willing to promote the content.
Absolutely. So is collaborative content, do you think, is it coming of age now that content creation and content marketing are now seen as like legitimate career paths and needed within so many industries and departments?
Coming of age, I don't know. Where would we be with, any magazine from Time to Life to People, without interviews, so at its, most essential, that is collaborative content. How would a journalist, write a story about politics or any sort of social issue or anything without hunting down sources and interviewing them. So I don't think like we have something new here. We might have an idea that hasn't been explored by content creators. Generally content creators, they create their first strategy and it's all about the blog. And so, that's not wrong. If you don't have a blog or a content hub, you don't have own media, you don't have a place to put your stuff. If you put it strictly on YouTube or Facebook or what have you, you're making a mistake and you're taking some risk. And so, I don't know if I could say it's coming of age because it's been of age, since the era of, since publishing began, or maybe even since, book publishing began. But it's growing. It's interesting. It has all the benefits we talked about. And so I think it probably is becoming a option that people that have ignored it in the past are exploring more and more. But again, it's not new. It's always been a staple of publishing. As a career path, I know some bloggers who specialize in roundups and specialize in interviews, and so I suppose if that's your specialty, you have work to do. You have to sort of sharpen your skills in the area of research. All the best interviews that I've experienced, were researched by the interviewee or interviewer, such that I was prepared, you gave me a pretty good idea of what questions you're going to ask me. So, you didn't ambush me. And if you did, I might have said, I don't want to answer those questions. And so you probably know that I've spoken on this topic before. So there's research involved, and, you got to get good at interviewing. Sometimes you have to get good at the communications that it takes to, book interviews and do the things that it takes to collaborate, whether that be interviews or design or some sort of idea sharing or the creation of a panel. And so that's a tough question. I think like if we're talking, as people often do, when the year comes to an end and the next one begins, about trends, I think it's a growing one, but I don't think it's new by any means.
Absolutely. Okay. So obviously with collaborative content, it's more than two or more people getting together to bring their ideas together on a common topic. So what are your suggestions for keeping personal ego out of collaborative efforts?
Do it. If you're gonna get a perspective other than your own, unlike horrible interviewers who won't shut up and won't stop interrupting you, don't do that. Listen, learn, put on your respectful cap and allow the person you're collaborating with to share their exercise their skills to the greatest degree. If you're like I said, I collaborate on infographics, so I have my thoughts about what I like and what I don't like, but I don't try to force feed my style down somebody else's throat. I try to bring out the best in them and ask them to give me what they've got. So try to keep your ego in check. Try to think about why you're doing it. Make it about your customers, make it about your prospects, make it about your market, your target audience, and most of all, make it about your collaborators.
Absolutely, very nice. So, does gaining tips and suggestions and quotes, as we often do from panelists for expert articles or panel pieces from other contributors, does that help make content more engaging, especially as it goes across social media and even paid campaigns and stuff like that?
Well, I hope so. If you do it well, it should. That's why you do it. I think if you only invite perfectly like-minded peers to the party, perhaps you're selling yourself short. So I think if you are interested in making your content more engaging, you reach out at least sometimes or often beyond your area of immediate expertise. Like I said, I'm a fairly accomplished content marketer. I've been doing it for a while. My skill set is writing. And so for my book, which turned out, my first book, which turned out to be about SEO, I interviewed Andy, as I mentioned, who's a supreme expert on search and analytics. And so I hope it made the book more engaging, and the interview, I hope, was engaging. My second book, sound like I'm on a book tour here, called The Road to Recognition, which is about personal branding. Is 26 chapters. It goes through the alphabet. That's why it's 26 chapters, A to Z. So it's the A to Z guide to personal branding. There are 26 plus collaborators in that book. Every chapter has a contribution from somebody who's an expert on the topic that the chapter is actually about. So if that doesn't make it more engaging, then I failed.
Okay. Very nice. So I guess our last and final question would be, what are the steps you go through since you've collaborated with so many people and you have such a very vast experience in writing and content marketing, and even helping others do the same? What are some of the basic steps you would follow to select the right collaborator?
I think probably more often than not, that's going to feel a little organic, but there's quite a few you could. You certainly, have the world's library at your fingertips, thanks to the web. And so I think if you are trying to, play that press pass thing that I talked about earlier, you might do some research on Google or on BuzzSumo or on influencer sites and begin to try to discover people that you don't know that are bigger, have more expertise than you do on any particular topic. So research is probably the best answer to that question. You want to. It doesn't always go well when you say, I'm doing a thing and you can help me. So it's a better thing would be to build a relationship in advance. And so you can do that on Twitter, on any social media. You can do that if the person that you want to collaborate with has a blog and it has comments on there. So rather than just come asking for favors, I think a part of the process is to create a acquaintance and maybe even more a friendship. And so if you have a serious project in mind, you might send them a handwritten note or a gift. If you just want to do a roundup or an interview, it's not out of bounds, I suppose, to find them on LinkedIn or find their email and ask them for that favor, and they probably will oblige. But I would say, for long-term meaningful collaborations, a part of the process should be to do the research, thinking about your customers and your prospects and your audience, and how you can bring a new perspective to your content and embellish it in one way or the other, and then reach out and form some sort of relationship in advance. And it probably shouldn't go without saying, as we're talking about the topic of collaborative content, that your collaborators don't have to be entirely external. It doesn't have to be an author, right, or whatever. If you're writing a travel stuff, it doesn't have to be a famous traveler, if there's such a thing, or famous cook, whatever. Fill in the blank according to your market. But you could collaborate. Not only with your peers and specialists, you could collaborate with your employees.
Absolutely.
Help make a better blog or vlog or social media effort. Bring in people that are in departments other than marketing. You could collaborate with your customers, and that a very obvious example of that is case studies or customer stories. People do that all the time, and in the area of influencer marketing, they do it with micro-sized content like little videos on Instagram and what have you. You could collaborate with partners. Sometimes people even collaborate with competitors, believe it or not. Maybe there's some overlap in the market, and you can serve both companies by getting together and doing something. So yeah, do your research, build a relationship, think about your audience, and make it fun. I think we got that when we first started talking. I think collaboration should be fun. When you talk to somebody for the first time and pick their brain and extract meaningful information that will go into your content. Think about maybe it shouldn't be the last time. Maybe you can do beautiful things together.
Absolutely. These are very good insights. And indeed, as we go into 2019 and beyond, we will be collaborating with many, many experts within our industry. So we really appreciate your time today. And thank you so much, Barry, for sharing your insights with us. For more information about Barry and the Feldman Creative Group, please visit feldmancreative.com. You can also connect with Barry on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. You can find more videos, articles, and other materials on this topic and many other topics at techfunnel.com. Barry, are there any last words that you would like to give or say to our audience?
No, keep at it, make great content, see what works. I think, I guess the answer is yes here, because here I go again. Content marketing can be, frustrating now. 10 years ago, if you had a blog or you made a series of downloadable things, or you started publishing video, you were doing something unique and special. That is certainly not the case today. It's the reverse is more true if you're conspicuous by your absence. So try some new formats such as a collaborative content and see what you can do to increase your reach and see if it works. Go back and double down on the things that are working and stop and think about the things that aren't.
Absolutely. Awesome advice. Thank you so much, Barry. We really appreciate your time. Thank you guys for listening to this interview. You can check this out on techfunnel.com along with many other content forms on this topic and many others. Thank you.